The following program is a special presentation of the Big Ten Network, produced in association with Purdue University.
Hi, I'm Randy Roberts, and welcome to Purdue Profiles. Do one thing, and do it better than anyone else. This was the simple advice a 1928 Purdue graduate would humbly dispense when asked about his remarkable achievements. He was just a simple farm boy with a funny-sounding name, but his drive for success took him from the cornfields of Clay County to the classrooms of Purdue University, and then on to the heights of the business world and into millions of kitchen pantries across the United States. Orville Redenbacher, the king of popcorn, an American icon, a proud Purdue Boilermaker, and the subject of this Purdue profile. With the hot Indiana sun beating down on his sunburned neck, 6-year-old Orville Redenbacher sat on a pond's edge, determined to catch as many fish as daylight would allow. By the afternoon, he had a string of catfish as long as he was tall. Under the fading orange sky, Orville raced back to the family farm. He hauled that heavy string of fish on his bony back a quarter mile. Exhausted, he dropped his catch on the lawn, displaying his day's triumph for his parents and siblings to see. Orville's smile quickly turned sour as he doubled over in excruciating pain and fell to the ground. The 6-year-old had ruptured his hernia. It would be an injury that he would deal with for the rest of his life. But that pain was a consequence of a tenacious spirit that would later take him to a level of worldwide success that the young Orville couldn't even imagine. Orville Clarence Redenbacher was born on July 16, 1907, just outside of Brazil, Indiana, an hour west of Indianapolis. He was the fourth child to William J. and Julia Redenbacher. The Redenbachers were a typical farming family where everyone was expected to pitch in.
Well, he was a hard-working boy. If you ask him what he did for fun, he said, I went to work, did a lot of hard work. And I said, well, didn't you do anything for just pleasure? Or anything? He says, no, just work.
At 12 years old, after he finished his family chores, he went to work for himself. He raised popping corn on a small plot of land given to him by his father. He sold it on the cob in 50-pound bags to stores in Brazil and nearby Terre Haute. Intelligent and ambitious, Orville finished all 8 grades at Clay Prairie by the age of 12. Farm work and financial hardship prevented his older brother and sisters from going beyond the 8th grade. But by juggling his chores with his schoolwork, Orville was able to attend Brazil High School. Orville continued to excel academically, but it was in 4-H where he truly stood out, winning ribbons and prizes in every conceivable category at county, state, and national levels. He was nothing short than a 4-H phenom. After graduating with honors from Brazil High School, he set his sights on a university 2 hours north in West Lafayette, Indiana.
This special presentation of the Big Ten Network is brought to you by Purdue University, where the sky is not the limit.
From the Indiana dunes to the banks of the Ohio, from high-powered boardrooms to corn-powered biofuels, Indiana's economic renaissance is powered in part by Purdue University. Our faculty, students, and alumni are creating new innovations, businesses, and thousands of Indiana jobs. And thanks to our leaders, citizens, and Purdue supporters, we're bringing it all back home to Indiana.
Akina Incorporated specializes in the development and research of novel drug delivery technologies that include superporous hydrogels for gastric retention and diet control, hydrotropic polymer micelle for delivery of
Purdue Research Park. The idea economy is here.
InSpace LLC develops advanced injector and combustion initiation technologies for chemical propellant rocket engines to achieve mission velocity increment requirements at maximum propellant mass fractions and specific impulses.
Purdue Research Park. The idea economy is here.
Fighting cancer is personal for me. I watched my mom die from it.
Cancer, rheumatoid arthritis, heart disease, lupus. At Endocyte, we're working on a better way to treat all of these.
4 of our drugs, based on discoveries at Purdue University, are now in nationwide clinical trials.
At Purdue Research Park, we look beyond the innovations to build companies like Endocyte, create jobs, and touch lives. Purdue Research Park, the idea economy is here.
What if there were a place where people still believe they can change the world, where creativity guides technology, and where ideas are created and challenged every single day? What if there were a place where finding the answers is just the beginning? That place is Purdue. It's here.
In 1924, Purdue University's enrollment was 3,200 students, less than a tenth of what it is today. An enthusiastic 16-year-old Orville Redenbacher arrived on the West Lafayette campus in the fall of 1924, ready to take full advantage of the college experience.
He was the president of the Alpha Gamma Rho, the agricultural fraternity. He was also the editor of the Debris, which is the campus yearbook, and he was varsity cross country. He ran on the track team as well, a straight A student, and even played sousaphone in the band.
Becoming a member of the Purdue marching band posed Orville with a difficult challenge.
He played the trumpet. Well, they didn't need trumpets, and so he couldn't get in. But they did need sousaphone players. So he got a hold of the sousaphone and learned to play it overnight, well enough that he got into the band.
But it was in the classroom where Orville would discover the foundation that would form his life's work. As a student at Purdue, his exposure to plant breeding and genetics was life-changing. It was clear to Orville that a scientific approach to farming could increase the odds of success. The odds were a little less promising in matters of love. In 1928, the male-to-female ratio on the Purdue campus was 7-1. So during his senior year, when a fellow fraternity member offered Orville an opportunity to go on a blind date, he quickly agreed. Corinne Rosemont Strait was a West Lafayette native who was artistically inclined and had an infectious laugh. The attraction between her and Orville was mutual and instant. The classwork was never an issue with Orville, but the financial burdens and the distance from his family caused him to think about quitting. In a letter to Corinne, he wrote about what got him through those days when he doubted himself.
Dearest Corinne, I can remember when I was in college. I got spells when I thought I would quit. But there were 3 things that kept me going. First, I always wanted my children to know I was a college graduate, and I could tell them all of the college yarns about Dad of 28. I don't know whether you believe this, but I've had that one thought ever since I've been in high school, and that's what I'm working for now. A name my children will be proud of. I never told this to anyone before, and it does sound rather awkward on paper. Second, I was afraid that people back home would think I couldn't make my grades, or else got kicked out. And the last was because I told my folks that I was going to college. And I've never had nerve enough to go back down on any of my promises.
Orville kept his word and graduated from Purdue University in June of 1928. He entered the university as a 16-year-old kid and left as a 20-year-old man full of promise and ambition. In August of 1928, he started teaching at Fontenette High in Fontenette, Indiana, and 4 months later, in December, he married Corinne in a small ceremony at her parents' house in West Lafayette. Although he enjoyed teaching and he would continue to be an active leader in 4-H for years, his career in the classroom lasted only a year. Orville was offered a position as a county agent for Vigo County in west central Indiana. A county agent's responsibility was to educate farmers in the application of new scientific research in agricultural practices. It was a job that Orville held in high regard and one that would make the most of his Purdue education. The position also came with a pay increase, which couldn't come at a better time considering that Corrine was pregnant with their first child. The young, expectant couple moved to Terre Haute in the summer of '29, ready to start a new job and a new family.
My oldest sister, Billy, was born in October of 1929, and my sister, Sue, was born in March of 1931, and I was born in December of 1939.
As a county agent, he could make a real difference in the lives of the families in Vigo County, and the stakes couldn't have been higher. On the day after the birth of their first daughter, the stock market crashed and sent the country into the Great Depression. It was during these trying economic times that Agent Orville Redenbacher tried to improve the livelihood of farming folks in his county. He even took to the airways in 1931, pioneering the use of a relatively new invention, the radio. Orville was the first in the United States to broadcast a daily farm news and crop report, which is now common practice. Most of the time he stayed in the WBOW studios, but occasionally he broadcast from the field with varying success. After one on-location report, a listener responded he couldn't hear a thing. Too many clucking chickens. His reputation in the farming community as extremely knowledgeable, highly organized, and hardworking was well known when in 1939, mining company owners Henry P. and Hy Smith approached him with an offer. The wealthy brothers had purchased 12,000 acres in Princeton, Indiana, the largest farm in the state, and they wanted Orville to manage it.
Imaginistics provides the next generation of KRM solutions utilizing powerful toolsets that extract, synthesize, and deliver external knowledge to organizations that manage and reuse current and legacy knowledge.
Purdue Research Park. The idea economy is here.
Swift Enterprises focuses on heterogeneous and homogeneous propulsion systems and catalysts, electrokinetics, hydrogen peroxide electrochemistry, and coupled methanol hydrogen peroxide electrochemistry.
Purdue Research Park. The idea economy is here.
At Purdue University, step into a future with unlimited potential, a future where professors care about your success. Students learn cutting-edge knowledge from professors who are blazing the research trail. Choose among hundreds of majors that will prepare you for any career you can imagine. Head down the track to a world-class education. Hook up with Purdue University.
P.C. Krause & Associates utilizes advanced modeling and simulation to design and analyze future integrated power systems for military and commercial applications.
Purdue Research Park. The idea economy is here.
How far would you need to go to see the future? To find out now how new technologies will transform your business and open the door to unseen opportunity. Where would you look for ideas that can take you further? Purdue. It's here.
Quadraspec is commercializing a protein diagnostic technology utilizing a direct optical protein detection to indicate disease onset. The BioSPD can test for more than 10,000 diseases in a brief span of time.
Purdue Research Park. The idea economy is here.
With 12,000 acres and 3 young daughters, both Orville and Corrine had their hands full. Farming and family were the 2 most important things in Orville's life, but family always came first.
My dad was well-liked at Princeton Farms. We lived right across the street. He was busy, but because of working so close, he was home a lot.
As a 12-year-old, Orville had only a small parcel to harvest. Now he had an area nearly the size of Manhattan. In 1941, he planted the first hybrid popcorn seed developed in the 1930s by plant scientists at Purdue University. Hybridization is the process of crossing two varieties of corn in order to get the best qualities of both. Each variety is planted side by side, raised to maturity, and then one row goes through the labor-intensive process of detasseling. By pulling the tassel, the bisexual plant is prevented from pollinating itself, and instead the pollen migrates to the plant in the next row, creating a new cross-hybrid seed. By 1948, Orville had switched from the Purdue hybrid popcorn seed to a variety he had developed himself. He might have created a new hybrid, but as an employee of Princeton Farms, he didn't own it. He knew if he was ever to reap the benefits and be able to focus all of his efforts on raising popcorn, he would have to go into business for himself. In 1951, Charlie Bowman, a fellow Purdue grad and friend, contacted Orville about a business opportunity up in Valparaiso, Indiana. George F. Chester & Son Seed Company was looking for a buyer. Orville was 44 years old, making a comfortable living at Princeton Farms, where he had job security for life. Leaving all that was a big risk, but one he knew he had to take. Charlie Bowman and Orville formed a partnership and purchased the seed company in November of 1951. Charlie and Orville didn't change the company name, but they did diversify its operations, adding several agricultural services and products. But Orville remained focused on his true passion, breeding popcorn. Year after year, they would plant up to 80 different varieties and let the wind cross-pollinate the plants, producing over 2,000 different varieties. They were looking for a light, fluffy, poppable corn with excellent taste that met the ultimate test of a 44-to-1 ratio of popcorn versus unpopped corn. The bar was high, and they struggled for years trying to achieve it.
They thought they had at one time. This popcorn was popping, and then the stalk couldn't hold the ears because it was too heavy. So then they had to go back and recross, hybridize all this and get a stalk. And I remember him saying, oh my, I thought we had it. And then it's another, how many strains they have to run through and replant and plant.
Finally, after 35 years of breeding popcorn, Orville's unwavering determination paid off.
In 1965, when he made a breakthrough on this gourmet variety, which was a superior hybrid to any hybrid been produced up to that time, we tried to sell it to the processors, all of them. Jolly Time, you name it, Cracker Jack. They all said it wouldn't work because you couldn't sell popcorn for 2 to 2.5 times more than the regular popcorn on the market and expect people to buy it.
The only way Orville and Charlie would be able to convince them was to put out their own product. Chester began processing and packaging their own popcorn seed under the Red Bow brand name. Red for Redenbacher and Bow for Bowman. Their product was superior to any current brand on the market. But it didn't matter. The company took a big financial risk and it wasn't paying off.
They realized that they could never go nationwide or get much bigger. They were just two guys in a little town in northwest Indiana, and they didn't have the means to get the word out. So that was when they decided to go to an advertising agency in Chicago and see, what they could come up with.
So they didn't know too much about popcorn, but they were experts in marketing and packaging. So I talked for about 3 hours, went back a week later, and they said we come up with the name of Orville Redenbacher, which is the same identical name my mother thought of 84 years ago.
With the new name and old-fashioned packaging, Orville hit the road, going from town to town in the Midwest to sell his popcorn.
We'd load it in the back of a station wagon and we'd drive to Marshall Fields in New York, or in Chicago, and we would set up a stand there and we would sell it, and it went like hotcakes.
Even though it was more expensive than all 82 other brands of popcorn, Orville Redenbacher's gourmet popping corn was an overwhelming success in the Midwest. But the success had a cost. His will and determination had taken a physical toll, and he was hospitalized with an ulcer. In an unfortunate coincidence, Corrine was also a patient at the hospital. She was suffering from a bleeding ulcer, which was incurable. Corinne passed away in the spring of 1971 at the age of 61. She married a small-town school teacher 40 years before, raised a family with him, traveled the world together, and watched him reach a level of success they had always dreamed about. And now, on the eve of what would be his greatest success, she was gone. Orville dealt with his grief by throwing himself into work. In 1971, they licensed their brand to Blue Plate Foods for national distribution. Orville crisscrossed the country, making special appearances, doing print, television, and radio interviews. He was a natural in the spotlight, and wherever he went, people would be charmed by the Hoosier in the bow tie and horn-rimmed glasses. He was sure people would pay more for a superior product, and he was right.
It took us 5 years to go from 0 to number 1 against 82 different brands of popcorn.
In 1976, Charlie and Orville decided to sell the entire popcorn operation to Hunt Wesson. They agreed to use the brand name of Orville Redenbacher in perpetuity, and Orville agreed to literally be the face of the brand and to work for the rest of his life promoting the popcorn, which included making commercials.
Fighting cancer is personal for me. I watched my mom die from it.
Cancer, rheumatoid arthritis, heart disease, lupus, at Endocyte, we're working on a better way to treat all of these.
4 of our drugs, based on discoveries at Purdue University, are now in nationwide clinical trials.
At Purdue Research Park, we look beyond the innovations to build companies like Endocyte, create jobs, and touch lives. Purdue Research Park, the idea economy is here.
PC Krause & Associates utilizes advanced modeling and simulation to design and analyze future integrated power systems for military and commercial applications.
Purdue Research Park, the idea economy is here.
InSpace LLC develops advanced injector and combustion initiation technologies for chemical propellant rocket engines to achieve mission velocity increment requirements at maximum propellant mass fractions and specific impulses.
Purdue Research Park, the idea economy is here.
What if there were a place where people still believe they can change the world, where creativity guides technology, and where ideas are created and challenged every single day? What if there were a place where finding the answers is just the beginning? That place is Purdue. It's here.
From the Indiana dunes to the banks of the Ohio, from high-powered boardrooms to corn-powered biofuels, Indiana's economic renaissance is powered in part by Purdue University. Our faculty, students, and alumni are creating new innovations, businesses, and thousands of Indiana jobs. And thanks to our leaders, citizens, and Purdue supporters, we're bringing it all back home to Indiana.
This special presentation of the Big Ten Network is brought to you by Purdue University, where the sky is not the limit.
Hello, I'm Orville Redenbacher. Hello, I'm Orville Redenbacher. Hello, I'm Orville Redenbacher.
Orville Redenbacher? Who else?
Orville's homespun charm and authenticity was an instant hit with the public.
What you saw on television was not phony. He kind of was who you saw.
And as the popularity of the brand grew, so did Orville's fame.
Orville Redenbacher!
It's hard to put in perspective just how famous he became.
What?
He wasn't simply on one TV channel. He was on every TV channel, every day. His name and face appeared on billboards, print ads, and on every label of Orville Redenbacher gourmet popcorn sold worldwide. He wasn't merely a celebrity, he was an icon.
People would come up and he would stop. We wouldn't get, it'd take us an hour to walk 100 yards because he would be signing and talking and so forth.
We went to Disney World as our very last family reunion, and people just As soon as they figured out who he was, they would stop and talk to him. We saw nothing at Epcot. He saw absolutely nothing.
Finally, they came up with a great idea, and that was they handed out these little round stickers that said, Orville Redenbacher, I met Orville Redenbacher, and it was pre-signed by him. And so he could just hand those to people, and that sped things up. But still, Orville was the kind of guy that always had time for anybody.
By the time he was 70, Orville Redenbacher was one of the most recognizable people in the United States. He retired from Chester Incorporated in 1978 and moved to Coronado, California with his second wife, Nina. Despite all the adulation, attention, and celebrity, Orville always remained true to who he was.
No matter how big a man he became in the eyes of the public, he was still Orville Redenbacher, just as kind and friendly to everybody as he ever was in his whole life. He just never acted like a big celebrity or anything.
You know, his name was still in the phone book when he died. So if you looked it up, you could just call him and he'd answer the phone, Redenbacher's. So.
He said, once told me, he said, I was born in Brazil, Indiana, or born near Brazil, Indiana. And he says, I never forgot that.
He also never forgot the importance of his Purdue education and how it changed his life. He put 16 grandchildren through college and established a scholarship program to help non-traditional students complete their degrees. In 1988, at the age of 80, 60 years after he received his bachelor's degree, Purdue University awarded him an honorary doctorate in agriculture. On September 19, 1995, just a few weeks before he was to make his annual trip to Purdue to attend a football game, Orville passed away at the age of 88 in Coronado, California.
You have to admire the fact that he was such a hard worker. He never gave that up.
He was really, really genuine. There was nothing phony about Orville, just a good guy.
But he was quite a man, one of the greatest men I'll probably ever know in my life.
When we made our first contact with Hunt Weston Foods, which was 4 years after we came out with the brand name, they came into the office, the sales manager came into the office, he didn't say hello, how do you do, anything. He said, I'm going to make your name a household word. And he sure did.
The advertising campaign was such an overwhelming success that on more than one occasion, Orville was accused of being an actor, a creation of Madison Avenue. He responded that if he was an actor, they would surely get someone better than him to appear in the commercials. The only person who could play Orville was Orville. He was a true original, an Indiana farm boy who took his love of farming and science and transformed an industry. Orville Redenbacher, a Hoosier with a vision who ended up living the American dream. For Purdue Profiles, I'm Randy Roberts.
The preceding program was produced by Purdue University in association with the Big Ten Network.